Hare. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhare. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Banachare. Yamuna Tira Vanachare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jaya Pancha Tattva Pancha Tattva Pancha Tattva Pancha Tattva. Prabhupada 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 Jai Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yagi ki jai, Shri Radha Madhavasta Sakhi Vrinda Giriraj Gordhan ki jai, Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Panchatattva ki jai, Shri Prahlāda Nrsimha Dev ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Iskon Vartmana Guru Vrinda ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Hare Krishna. So we will continue with the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam with the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas, starting with very senior Vaishnavas, Prabhupada disciples, sannyasis. We'll be reading from chapter 13, the dynasty of Mahārāja Nimi, text 12. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubevacha Pacitanam Pavanepyo Vaishnavepyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Budaya Mahatpriyaya Mahapuro Vibhur Nirmakshayate Yadamusha Purusha Munkteganan Sadasa Sadasmaka Lankrishista Bhagavan Vacham Sime Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Arājaka-bhayam nrinam Arājaka-bhayam nrinam Manyamana Mahārāja Manyamana Mahārāja Deham mamantu smanime Deham mamantu smanime Kumara samajayata Kumara samajayata Arājaka-bhayam nrinam Manyamana Mahārāja Deham mamantu smanime Kumara samajayata. Please. Ladies, please. Arājaka-bhayam, due to fear of the dangers of unregulated government. Nrinam, for the people in general. Manyamana, considering this situation. Mahārāja, the great sages. Deham, the body. Mamantu, churned. Sma, in the past. Nime, of Mahārāja Nimi, Kaumara, one son, Samajayata, was thus born. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Sheila Prabhupada ki jai. Thereafter, to save the people from the danger of unregulated government, the sages churned Mahārāja Nimi's material body, from which, as a result, a son was born. Purport. Arājaka-bhayam. If the government is unsteady and unregulated, there is danger of fear for the people. At the present moment, this danger always exists because of government by the people. Here we can see that the great sages got a son from Nimi's material body. To guide the citizens properly, for such guidance is the duty of a kṣatriya king. A kṣatriya is one who saves the citizens from being injured. In the so-called people's government, there is no trained kṣatriya king. As soon as someone strong accumulates votes, he becomes the minister or president, without training from the learned brāhmaṇas, expert in the śāstras. Indeed, we see that in some countries the government changes from party to party, and therefore the men in charge of the government are more eager to protect their position than to see that the citizens are happy. The Vedic civilization prefers monarchy. People liked the government of Lord Rāmacandra, the government of Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira, and the government of Mahārāja Parīkṣit, Mahārāja Ambarīṣa, and Mahārāja Prahlāda. There are so many instances of excellent government under a monarch. Gradually, the democratic government is becoming unfit for the needs of the people, and therefore some parties are trying to elect a dictator. A dictatorship is the same as a monarchy, but without a trained leader. Actually, people will be happy when a trained leader, whether a monarch or a dictator, takes control of the government and rules the people according to the standard regulations of the authorized scriptures. Arājaka-bhayam nrinam manyamana maharshaya deham mamantu smanime kumara samajayata. Thereafter, to save the people from the danger of an unregulated government, the sages churned Mahārāja Nimi's material body, from which, as a result, a son was born. So this is another very interesting episode in Bhagavatam, which has political connotation. What to do when there is no qualified king? So the brāhmaṇas are producing the son by churning the King Nimi's body, material body, and this becomes Janak Mahārāja, celebrated Janaka Mahārāja, whom even Lord Krishna in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita gives as an example of a perfect king who is just fulfilling his duty without any material motivation. And of course, King Janak was a great devotee of the Supreme Lord. And if we look through entire Srimad Bhagavatam and even Bhagavad Gita, it's very interesting to note whom this great science is meant for. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshaya vidu, that this science was passed through the chain of disciplic succession, and in this way it was understood by saintly kings, Raja Rishis. And so we can see that Pandavas were in that category of Raja Rishis, and entire Bhagavatam is describing these people, Raja Rishis, that these are the kings who perfectly Krishna conscious on the top, and so they could take care of everyone's both material and spiritual needs, and so everyone was happy. And so it is very clear that because this kind of government is missing in this world, then there are so many problems, especially because the democracy is very popular. So Prabhupada was calling it not democracy but demon crazy system. Because, those elected leaders, first of all, whom are they elected by? By ignorant people. Democracy is fine if people are enlightened and they know whom to choose from, who is qualified and who is not qualified. But if people are ignorant, whom do they choose? They won't make good choices, and so there is a joke, American joke, that politicians and nappies have to be changed regularly and for the same reason. And so politicians and diapers have to be changed regularly and for the same reason. And so we can see that time and time again, all these elected politicians just embarrassing themselves, and they're also creating havoc in people's lives. And dictators are even worse, because at least, elected political leaders, they don't stay for too long, so there is a chance for some improvement, but dictators, they want to stick around for life. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada says that monarchy is definitely preferable, because monarchs are trained. They have tradition. And we can see that even despite of the advancement of Kali Yuga, if we look at some prominent monarchies, modern day monarchies, you can still see very clear advantage. I spent few years in United Kingdom, and even though constitutional, it is still monarchy. And you can see that there are so many benefits provided for people: free education, free medical services, and even if someone cannot, or in some cases doesn't want to work, still government is providing everyone. And we can see the same kind of scenario. Actually, Srila Prabhupada was very appreciative of British monarchy. He said, just look how these rulers are taking care of people. And he said, in Vedic times, people were similarly very well taken care of, but they were also looked after spiritually. So, of course, in Kali Yuga, the best you can get is material care, not so much spiritual care. And yes, this is very important. Another interesting example is Thailand, where the kings traditionally, they claim to be the followers of Ram, Lord Rāmacandra, and so they call themselves. I'm not sure. I think presently there is Ram the 10th is in power. And so It's interesting that in the time of economic recession, so many countries suffered, but Thailand was one of the very few countries which was absolutely unaffected by any recession. And so despite of it being Buddhist country, but the king is a devotee of Lord Rāmacandra. And so as a result, he has Vedic brāhmaṇas in his palace performing Vedic sacrifices. And the most popular book he wrote was to glorify King Janaka's life example as a perfect king. And so, and we can see that if rulers are monarchs, and especially if they are Krishna conscious, and then there is so much benefit, because they understand where the benefits are coming from. Luckily, in India right now, the ruler, well, the prime minister, is connected to the devotees, and he is taking regular guidance by the devotees, and therefore he is doing a lot of devotional work. And for example, a new position has been established in many states because one of the programs of the prime minister was to protect cows, increase cow protection. And so as a result, he established new positions in the state governments, and that position is Minister for Cow Protection. And in Hindi, it's called Gopal. So it's like, what's your position in the government? What's your service in the government? I'm Gopal. Rajasthan and few other states, they are Gopals now. And certain states like Maharashtra, of course, cow protection laws were already there in India, because as Prabhupada says that India is intrinsically Krishna conscious, right? So it's very interesting that I came across one article which explains how meat consumption increases or decreases in the world. And this article basically shows that meat consumption increases pretty much everywhere, despite of the popularity of vegan movements and all. And the only country which is resistant to the increase of meat consumption, guess which country is that? It is India. Yeah, so still, despite of the influence of Kali Yuga, India is still holding on to Dharma, to the values, and so that's why Prabhupada wanted to invest so much into this country to make sure that people are supported in doing the right thing and they are not confused in their, attempts to imitate West, but rather, have their own dignity. I think this is one of the greatest gifts Srila Prabhupada gave to the world. He gave Indians their dignity back. Otherwise, Indians were thinking, we're the third world country and we're backwards and we have to, follow the West. But then Srila Prabhupada explained to Indians, no, that you have something which nobody has on the planet. You have the most important, the most valuable thing, which is Krishna consciousness. And so, there is so much good work has been done already by the government, because this government is open to advice and counsel from the devotees, from ISKCON devotees. For example, Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, funny enough, is a sannyasi. It's so funny that in Kali Yuga, in the absence of qualified kshatriyas, brāhmaṇas and sannyasis have to fill the positions. And so he's the chief priest of Gorakhpur temple, famous Gorakhpur temple. And despite of being Shaivite, Shiva follower, he's very friendly to the devotees, and because he understands that Dharma is the same regardless of the, denomination. And he likes the devotees, he works with the devotees, and now he is doing a lot of improvement in the holy places, investing massive amounts of funding into developing holy places. And those of you who have been recently at Govardhan probably noticed, now you don't have to, go over, walk bare feet over all these sharp stones and pebbles and injure your feet. It's all covered with soft, nice sand. And there are so many improvements. And so he's investing massive amounts of funding into Vrindavan and many other holy places like Ayodhya. And his motivation is that foreigners like us, they take a lot of interest in holy places. So let's increase, I think he calls it spiritual tourism, because so many foreign people, they want to go to the holy places. So it's good for our economy, which is true. I mean, ISKCON is, giving such an upliftment for the entire area around here, because so many local people getting, varieties of jobs and engagements and so, and they're getting very well paid. So their prosperity is increasing because Radha Madhava is here, because Madhav is the husband of goddess of fortune, right? And Srimati Radharani is the original goddess of fortune, so they bring prosperity to everybody around. And so it is very clear how it benefits, even economically, even materially it benefits, what to speak of spiritual benefit. And therefore this kind of sincere political leaders, they understand the value of working with devotees, and they gladly do so. And we can see there are massive changes in many, many places due to the sacrifice Srila Prabhupada went through single-handedly to promote Krishna consciousness movement, and of course he had to struggle so much. His original, Srila Prabhupada is really remarkable personality, because his thinking is completely counterintuitive, right? That he was trying to fulfill the instruction of his spiritual master to preach Krishna consciousness in English language, so he was trying, and first he tried in India, as we know. And after long effort, he finally got some local success in Jhansi, right? And it seemed to be developing quite nicely, but then due to local politics he lost the temple, so basically he failed locally, right? And if someone, after struggling so much, gets success and then, loses it, one would become normally disheartened, but not Srila Prabhupada. What was Srila Prabhupada's logic? I failed locally, let me try now nationally. So instead of preaching to, anyone and everyone, he started preaching to political leaders, connecting with, what's his name, Bahadur, Lal Shastri, and other political leaders, preaching to them, writing letters to Gandhi, etc. Was getting kind of appreciation, but, it dwindled after a while. He also failed to influence them as well. Gandhi never responded to his letter, in which he was actually warning him of the assassination danger. If Gandhi would listen to him, probably he could survive. But he never took it seriously. We don't even know if the letter was ever delivered to him. And so, basically, he failed nationally as well. And so, after second failure, normal, ordinary person would get completely discouraged. But Srila Prabhupada's logic was, okay, I failed locally, I failed nationally, let me go internationally. And as we know, he succeeded. And in my humble opinion, it happened because Krishna didn't want him to waste time with small things. He wanted to give Srila Prabhupada the whole planet, so he prevented him from becoming successful on small scale. But when he went for the bigger scale, he succeeded, as we know, very impressively. But it didn't come easy. Nothing came easy in his life. And it was only last 10 years he enjoyed success, but even then he had to struggle so much with immature leadership and so many problems. And so, but it's very interesting that he had much greater goal. Even what he achieved, he had much greater vision. And it's very clear from the very first purpose of ISKCON, which is so global, so unbelievable, that even for us now, so many years later, it's hard to imagine how do we achieve it, even though the circumstances are so much better. And again, this first purpose is to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large and teach all peoples, not just people, but peoples, all nations, the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life and achieve real unity and peace in the world. I mean, real unity and peace in Kali Yuga. It's unimaginable, but this is what Srila Prabhupada was striving for. And therefore, towards the end of his manifested pastimes on this planet, he said, of course, we glorify him as a remarkable achiever. Even CNN singled him as one of the 10 greatest achievers in the category of late starters of the 20th century. Right? Because in last 11 years of his life, he achieved amazing results. So we're glorifying Srila Prabhupada. Even CNN is glorifying Srila Prabhupada. So many people are glorifying him. But what was his comment? He said, I only achieved half of my mission. And another half is to establish Varnashram Dharma. And so, of course, he was very much insisting on simple living, that devotees go to the farm communities and live there. Devotees are trying to do that for so many years, not much success, because my conclusion is that it's pretty hard to make farmers out of city dwellers. And so my realization is that we would be much more successful if we make, that it's very hard to make devotees into farmers, but it's quite easy to make farmers into devotees. So, and Prabhupada was saying that 90% of Krishna consciousness is common sense. And I'm waiting for the day when common sense will finally prevail. And we'll start, doing things in a natural way. as they're supposed to be. Because farmers are very simple people. And they tend to be much less spoiled than people in the city. So, as I saw one advertisement for like powdered fruit juice. They came up with such thing that, you know, they give you fruit juice powder and they say just add water. You know, just take one sachet of this powder and just add water, you'll have juice. So their slogan was just add water, or simply add water. And so our slogan in Krishna consciousness is simply add Krishna. Everything is already there. The entire social structure is there. We just need to add Krishna to the picture and everything will be perfect. Rather than, as they say, inventing the bicycle, inventing the wheel, reinventing the wheel. You know, that we've noticed with few devotees that this tendency in our society is extremely strong to reinvent the wheel. That whenever we come across some problem, we start thinking very, very hard how to solve this problem, because we are devotees, right? And the problems we face, nobody ever faced these problems historically on the planet. We are the first ones, right? And therefore we have to come up with our original solution, right? But mostly devotees just don't look around. They just don't look for, as it says, the bright spots. That, you know, the kind of problems we struggle with, they are not unique. They are very typical problems for any religious institution. And if we look for the bright spots, it would be so much easier to address those problems. And so, but it's really important for all of us to understand, because Srila Prabhupada speaks so much about it, about social spiritual structure. And so we can understand that he didn't come and sacrificed so much, actually sacrificed his own life, as he told one of his senior assistants before leaving the body, that he would live much longer if he would not have to perform so many hardships trying to establish Krishna consciousness. As we know, Srila Prabhupada sacrificed even his sleep for the sake of, you know, making sure that he publishes the main books to leave this very important legacy behind. As Prabhupada was saying, that the best of me is in my books. And traveling so much, 14 round the world tours in just 11 years. That takes toll on the body, especially after 70, we can imagine. And taking so much hardships, because he had to deal with many problems, and these problems were so bad that many of Prabhupada's disciples, they don't want to even talk about those problems which were there. And before Srila Prabhupada started the movement, he had to face such a severe difficulties that even he didn't want to talk about them to his disciples. And so, taking all this into consideration, we can understand that it is true that Prabhupada said, I reduced my lifespan by at least 10 years by taking all these hardships. And we can understand that it is true because many of his god brothers, they lived much, much longer. Like few of them, they lived over 100 years. And so Prabhupada left this planet when he was little bit over 80, which is, like for someone of his background, having zero, like Prabhupada said, he never performed one sinful activity in his lifetime, and he never forgot Krishna. So for this kind of personality, he didn't live long. His lifespan was not long enough. And so he basically sacrificed even his life for the sake of establishing Krishna consciousness. But it would be very funny to think that he sacrificed himself just to add one more religious organization to the long, long list already existing religious groups. Okay, there are these religious group, that religious group. Okay, there is also ISKCON Hare Krishna religious group. No, he didn't come for that. He came for the whole planet. And as many Prabhupada disciples share, in the early days it was very clear that we are taking on the whole world. We're not just trying to convert few Hindus into Hare Krishnas or few people who have nothing better to do in life, few youngsters, or the whole world has to become Krishna conscious, and therefore this is real Varnashram. This is the bigger picture, as it is depicted in the entire Bhagavatam, that Varnashram means heads of the states, living their lives according to the principles of Krishna consciousness and promoting these principles, establishing these principles to everybody. And so Srila Prabhupada was very, very clear about this point. In the end of the 17th chapter of the first canto, which is Punishment and Reward of Kali, in the very end of the purport, he says the following. He says, can't find it now. Anyway, that he actually explains in the purport that no one can get success in terms of spiritual promoting principles of the spiritual life without the government support. He says that brāhmaṇas and kṣatriyas are meant to work together and help each other, which is illustrated through entire Bhagavatam. And without the support of the government, there is no chance for real growth. And then he gives this famous example of Mahārāja Ashoka, who established Buddhism with his influence. And so we can understand that exactly same thing is 1745. Yeah. Here we go. In other words, without state support or without government support, right? No doctrines or philosophy or religious principles can progressively advance. there should be complete cooperation between the brāhmaṇas and the kṣatriyas for this common good. Even up to Mahārāja Ashoka, the same spirit was prevailing. Lord Buddha was sufficiently supported by King Ashoka, and thus his particular cult of knowledge was spread all over the world. So this is the missing bit. Because on our own, we might do things, but how much we can achieve and how fast we can achieve the results. But Srila Prabhupada says it very clearly that for real advancement, the state support is required. And so we can understand that this is the real unfulfilled mission of Srila Prabhupada, which he strived so hard from the very beginning, and which we as his followers should be interested in helping. And of course those who are qualified, those of the devotees who are professional in the field and who can do something, should do it, and others should be helping them to achieve that goal. Hare Krishna. Anyone has any comments, questions? Yes. Jagannath Prabhu. Microphone? Can we pass it to the back?
There we go. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mahārāja, for class.
Thank you.
Just wanted to tell one quick story regarding government and the devotees. I was recently in Kanai Vashala, which is in Jharkhand, and there the government has given 105 million rupees for development of the ISKCON temple.
Wow.
It's amazing. It's amazing. The temple itself is beautiful. It's a very special place. Read Chaitanya Charitamrita to find out why. And the government acknowledged that this temple could be a spiritual attraction for the government there. So they've given this 105 million rupees to develop a ghat, because the temple actually overlooks the Ganges. That's really nice. But the nicest thing was we had a ribbon cutting ceremony for this project, and the Federal Minister of Water and Land showed up, and she's actually a sannyasini. And she's very favorable. She's very, very nice. She wears the orange. She carries Ladu Gopal in her bag everywhere she goes. So we were at the ribbon cutting thing, and I was standing next to her, which is very nice. And there's TV and newspapers, and the whole thing is very, very, very popular, especially in Jharkhand. There's not a whole lot going on. So this was pretty amazing time. And she cuts the ribbon and she says, all glories to Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Oh, very nice. She goes, all glories to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And I'm thinking, oh, that's really cool. Then she goes, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. And I went, whoa, did you just say that? And she says, Jai Prabhupada. So the government is not only recognizing ISKCON, but recognizing Srila Prabhupada as well. So.
Haribo, thank you. Yeah, wonderful example. We need more of those. And not just in India, but all over the world. I'm sure that these wonderful results came with some hard work of some devotees who made it possible. And so it's really important that all of us try to do something in that direction. Somebody else? Yes.
So just like there are national elections and local elections, I wanted to ask, what is the role of a devotee? Such events happening, how much they should engage with these activities, how much they promote. And I have also witnessed that oftentimes politically conflicting views among devotees, they also become a cause of conflict.
Yes.
So,
well, sadhus or devotees, traditionally they're meant to be nirapeksha, neutral. They cannot take part in politics. Even according to Vaishnava etiquette, even if there are differences between, devotees, like senior devotees, junior devotees are meant to stay neutral and not to take any sides, understanding, okay, something's happening, it's Krishna's arrangement, it's Krishna's pastime, somehow or other, as Prabhupada speaks in the 4th canto, so we should just wait and see what will happen as a result. And so, especially dealing with outside politics, the same principles of Vaishnava etiquette must be applied. That for us it doesn't matter which government, because Prabhupada explains very clearly that government represents Krishna, right? Because it's power, it's manifestation of Krishna's power. And so we can understand that, as Prabhupada often quoted, that without the will of the Lord, not even a blade of grass can move. What to speak of someone, being elected at high position. So this soul has done something good to get that result, to get that high position. And so any government we are happy to work with. We're happy to cooperate with any government, but we are not supporting any party for or against each other, for a very simple reason that you might support some party, but party might lose. And then you become the enemy of the winning party, right? So we don't want to take those kind of risks. And plus, taking part in politics is not in line with Krishna conscious principles, right? Because politics means friends and enemies. And devotees, do we divide everyone into friends and enemies or not? Yes or no? No. Prahlāda Maharaj says that this is demoniac, to divide people into friends and enemies. How do we perceive everyone? As spirit souls, as servants of Krishna, whether real or potential, right? So we should be equal to everyone and try to give everyone Krishna consciousness, try to encourage everyone, but never take any side. So it's really important. Thank you for the question.
So Prabhuji, if elections are there, are devotees supposed to go for voting, or should we ignore that?
Well, I mean, I don't know how it's arranged in India. In some countries, for example, in Australia, compulsory you have to go and vote. If you don't go for voting, you have to pay high penalty. So, like everyone is forced to vote. So in that case, of course, whoever is, more dharmic, or whoever is, closer to the Krishna conscious standards, you can vote for that person. But there should never be organized effort to support one political party against the other. So it's very wrong. And in regards to devotees, taking different sides, it's just immaturity, because devotees, they don't understand that it's all part of Krishna's plan. So we should not take sides. We should not take part in politics. As sadhus, we're not supposed to be doing that. We're supposed to stay clear of all these political matters. Because the politicians, to the most part, they are trained to deal with politics. But devotees have no idea of how it works, and then devotees poking their nose into that, they can lose their heads. So, it's not recommended.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Welcome. Of course, if some devotee is trained politician, then he can act in the field, but not others. Yes.
So when it comes to dharma and adharma, can you stay in election? Like when the religious and
Can you please speak louder?
I'm saying when you say devotee has to be neutral.
Neutral, yes.
So when it's a question of dharma and adharma, devotee can stay nirapeksha, like neutral?
Well, everyone has swadharma. Everyone has one's dharma. And so, kṣatriya dharma is different from brāhmana dharma. And Vaishya dharma is different from Shudra dharma, for example. And so it really is important that when we speak about dharma, the principles of dharma are all the same. Satya, daya, tapa, shuchi, right? Truthfulness, mercy, austerity, and cleanliness. But how these principles are applied is really important according to one's position. And so it's really important for us to know our nature and know our position. And as the Latin saying goes, quo licet Iovi non licet bovi, what befits Jupiter is not, what is befitting for Jupiter is not befitting for the bull. So, and oftentimes devotees think, okay, if I'm a devotee, I can perform any function. You know, I can be brāhmana, kṣatriya, vaishya, shudra. I still remember this very, pertinent joke by Bhakti Rasayana Maharaj. He says, some devotees think, I want to instruct everyone as a brāhmana, rule everybody as a kṣatriya, be very wealthy as vaishya, and take no responsibility for my action as shudra. So, this danger we have to avoid. That it's really that it starts from very simple question: what's my authority? And because sometimes devotees try to do something, but they have no authority. No one's expecting them to do something, and they just try to take law in their own hands. And in this way they create havoc in the society. So yes, we have to follow dharma, but according to our position. And so it's really important to be mindful of our position, capacity, nature, and other factors involved. As the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita explains, there are 5 factors of action, and all these factors have to be taken into consideration before we do anything. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you. I was just thinking that it seems to me that the more religious people are, the better citizens they would be. Right? Because with religion comes higher values of life, which would seem to make society run more smoothly. So why is it that the government doesn't support religious practice?
Well, yes, this is a very good question. The problem is there are so many religions, and so if government will support one religion, then everybody else will come complaining why you support this particular religious group against others. So their only solution is to be neutral. Okay, we are secular. We're not supporting any religion because, it's the same like supporting one party against the other. You become enemy of everybody else. But it is very important that Srila Prabhupada explains many, many times in his books that it's not the matter of religious affiliation. It's the matter of consciousness and having qualities and having principles in life. This is what Krishna consciousness means. That it's very interesting that when Srila Prabhupada was asked, how do we recognize that someone is your disciple or someone is your follower, right? That he didn't say, oh, you can recognize my disciples because they wear dhotis and saris. Oh, that you can recognize them because they put tilak on their foreheads. Or you can recognize them because they chant Hare Krishna. He didn't say any of these things. What did he say? how can we recognize that someone is a perfect follower of Srila Prabhupada? Gentleman, yes. So Prabhupada was talking about consciousness. He was not talking about external things. Because so many people wear dhotis and saris, especially in India. So many people put tilaks on their heads. And so many people chant Hare Krishna, having cigarette breaks, and all kinds of things are happening. So, and even chanting Hare Krishna and eating meat, that's also happening. So, qualities and consciousness, that's really important. And if we understand that Krishna consciousness is above and beyond any religious boundaries, and there are perfect Krishna conscious people can be found in any tradition. That Jayadev Prabhu from London, he shared one interesting story how his daughter, and she's a famous singer, kirtan singer, Gaurangi, and they were distributing books in UK somewhere, and she rang the bell in one house, and then one very old lady came out, and she could hardly see, that she had a impaired eyesight, and she was asking, "What is it that you are selling?" And she said, "We have these spiritual books, and if you like to take one and give a donation." And then she said, "Okay, let me look at these books, see these books." And then Gaurangi saw that in her front room there is a big picture of Lord Jesus with, like holding a lamp, lit lamp in his palms, like lighting the path for everybody. And she appreciated that. She said, "Oh, you're worshipping Lord Jesus, you're Christian." And she said, "Yes, I do that for many years. He is guiding me through my life." And Gaurangi said, "This is very nice." And then this lady said, "Yes, 30 years ago, he told me that I should quit smoking. I had to stop smoking." Gaurangi says, "Well, this is even better." And she says, "Yes, and 20 years ago he told me to stop eating meat. I stopped eating meat also. So I'm vegetarian for the past 20 years. Gaurangi becomes even more surprised. And then this lady takes book into her hands, and she says, and she can hardly see. And she says, "Oh, this is Blue Boy." And Gaurangi becomes surprised. She said, "How do you know?" And then she points at Jesus, and she said, "Yes, he showed me Blue Boy as well. I'll take these books." So we can see a Christian having no idea what Krishna consciousness is, but very sincerely worshipping Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ brings her to Krishna. So that's why Prabhupada said it doesn't matter which tradition you follow, as long as you follow sincerely, you will come to Krishna. All right, so we'll stop here. Thank you all very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande.